Hello everybody and welcome back to Medieval Total War, the original game, at least the original Total War game as far as I was concerned. This is the first Total War game that I ever played back in, I guess, 2002 when it came out. We're looking at the Viking Invasion, the patched version of the game. We're all good to go. This is a pure vanilla playthrough, and we're going to be taking a look at one aspect of this game that I absolutely loved, and was very deeply saddened when they removed in Rome Total War and Medieval 2 Total War. They did bring this feature back in later games to some extent, and what I'm talking about is the option for alternate victory conditions. See, Medieval Total War was actually really innovative. I mean, in a lot of ways, it pairs perfectly well with Shogun Total War, the original Shogun. What they were doing there, they had a 2D campaign map. You could move armies from province to province, transition into a 3D battle map with 2D sprites. The formula was basically the same, but Medieval Total War added some very interesting features, and my favorite one was the glorious achievements. There's a lot of other little things they added to the campaign, but the option to win without necessarily conquering, 2/3 of the map was just fantastic for someone like me who is interested more in realism than exercising the pure power fantasy of painting the map my color. So we're going to give that a shot today. We're going to try a campaign, and I've been going back and forth about this. I think I do want to start in the early period. This is another thing that this game did really well. You get to choose whether you started in, 1080 or something along those lines. A high period starts in, I think, 1204, 1205. And the late period starts in, I believe, 1321. They all end at the same point, 1453, the fall of Constantinople, and that is the point at which your points are counted and victory is determined. The thing is, starting in the early period means you have a much longer campaign. Now, it's only one turn per year, so that does tighten things up a bit. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to go with the early period, glorious achievements, and jump in here to choose a campaign. And I'm going back and forth between France and the Holy Roman Empire, but I think we are going to go with the Germans. This is it's sort of a tough call. France has a really interesting start at the beginning of the early period. This is probably their hardest starting position, and then they have some very interesting glorious achievements, but it does keep the action more or less centered on this part of the map, although some of your achievements will have you sending crusades out. The Germans, however, have that also to some extent, and they also have some interesting goals around the east, the northeast, even Italy, and they have the interesting position of being right in the middle of all of the action. So we're going to start up a campaign as the Germans, as the Holy Roman Empire. We'll take a look at our glorious achievement goals, and we'll see how this is going to go. Now, the other thing that we want to keep in mind is Medieval Total War, in some ways, is an easier game to win, or maybe to abuse, than some of the later ones. You can steamroll this game relatively easily. So we're not going to be playing that way. We're not going to necessarily blitz through the map. We're going to first see what we have here for glorious achievements. Okay, so these are our goals, and we also can take a look at every other faction's glorious achievement goals to determine who's going to be our biggest rival. These points get tallied at various points, and we'll take a look at that. And then you'll see bars going up to represent kind of who's ahead. So one aspect of the game that is easy-ish to abuse is that the steamrolling, that blitz where you just immediately try to burst out and conquer everybody. And playing glorious achievements is a way to sort of restrain yourself from doing that a little bit. If you restrict yourself to trying to stick to your homelands for the most part and trying to focus on these other goals rather than just conquering, then you can set yourself sort of an interesting challenge. Now, conquering does have a place in the glorious achievements victory conditions because some points you earn through conquest. But let's take a look at each of these. So we've got our 4 different goals for 4 different crusade targets. This one here gives us 3 points if we successfully launch a crusade to the province of Antioch anytime between 1095 and 1204. We do not have a lot of time because, again, it's 1 turn per year. And it takes us time to get to the point where we can even send out a crusade. Antioch gets us 3 points. Edessa gets us 1. Palestine, obviously that's where Jerusalem is located, is going to give us 3, 4, 5, 6, I guess 9. And then we get 2 points for taking Tripoli. So obviously Palestine is going to be our main target. We may have to settle for Antioch or Tripoli or just anything we can get. We want to get a couple of these and then get those points for us. We also have homelands. Now, we currently have all of these filled in as red, which means that when the first date comes around to count these points, we're going to get all of these. And so I guess it's 8 across. So that means 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 points in total. And then we, let's see. So basically every single one of these provinces is going to give us a single pip. Now, this is going to change as these dates come. So some of these provinces are going to disappear. They will no longer be counted as our homelands for that particular period of time. And some new provinces will be added to our homelands list, which means that we will then have to fill those in as the years progress. Taking a look at the conquest, we don't get a great return on this. So every 5 provinces conquered, we score only 1 point. So this kind of gives you a little something if you're being very aggressive, I guess. But to me, that's somewhat against the spirit of Glorious Achievements. We're going to be focusing on all the other goals other than the conquest ones. And we're going to use these if we're really behind to sort of shore up our lag. We're going to make up points if we have to through conquest. The other thing you can do to abuse the Glorious Achievement system is take a look at who is your biggest rival and make life very difficult for them. Now, in some cases, that's just what you would expect to do, but you can swing it a lot by just sending an army in and wiping out the faction. Faction reemergence is a thing in this game, which is awesome, but unfortunately, the factions start from 0 in terms of Glorious Achievements if they are reemergent. So if, say, the Almohads were giving me a run for my money, they were ahead of me in points, I could just go down and destroy the Almohads. If they were to respawn, they would do so with 0 points. So it's basically, you can get to a point where you're doing very, very well if you're playing aggressively. The Almohads, and notice that these values are going to be different. So the Almohads get different value points for different settlements. They don't have all of the provinces yet. They're just missing Valencia. Conquest, they get the same as we do, 5 for 1 in terms of points. The Byzantines are going to get a lot of points for Constantinople, as you would imagine. And they're going to get a slightly better return on conquest than we do. So far, the Byzantines would be beating us. So would the Almohads if nothing else were to change. So we need to be looking to our crusades to make up that difference. The Danes are going to do pretty well. They get a 1 for 1. So if you're playing Glorious Achievements as the Danish Kingdom, every single province you get gives you another point, at least at this point in the early campaign. And so, fortunately, we're very close to them. We can try to hem them in a little bit. With regards to the Egyptians, they've got an interesting one. They have a building achievement, and some of the factions get more of these types of things than others. France gets some. You have to build the cathedral in Paris. You have to build a cathedral in Palestine, I believe, or a fortress. I think Crac de Chevalier is another achievement for the French. Again, so they get some very interesting goals. But the Germans get stuff like that too, I believe, at a later point. So if the Egyptians build this Grand Mosque, they're going to get their 4 points. Conquest for them is not too great, so I'm not too concerned about them, honestly. Okay, the English get the Crusades, so most of the Catholic factions are going to have this, and it's going to be basically the same as ours. They look like us in terms of homelands, and they look like us in terms of conquest, so we're about evenly matched with them in terms of glorious achievements. And the French, yes, they get the Crac de Chevalier, a citadel in Tripoli. If you get that, and it's possible to do, but man, it is a tight timeline because you've only got basically 113 years to do it, to get over there and do it. But you can see that they have a bit of a hard time because they don't have all of their homelands yet, and they're probably not going to get these. Conquest, again, is the same for them as it is for us. The Italians, I think, have a few more. No, the Italians are identical to us in terms of homelands, and it's 5 for 1. Fortunately, we are fairly close to them as well. The Polish faction does not get crusades in this game. They do get some decent homelands, and they get a fantastic ratio, just like the Danes, of a 1-to-1. So every province they conquer is going to get them another pip. Spanish do get crusades. They don't have a lot of homelands, but they have a bit more favorable conquest, and they can be fairly aggressive. So we'll have to watch for Spanish encroachments along the coast of North Africa and into France even, depending on how things go. With the Turks, let's see, they get some decent homelands if they can conquer them all, and they may. But the Byzantines start off strong in the early period, so they may have a hard time there. And they're also going to be coming under the target of lots of crusades. The Turks get a 4-for-1 ratio with conquest, glory, achievements. And another faction I've been interested in is the Aragonese. This is the Kingdom of Aragon in northeastern Spain. A very, very interesting little faction. Starts with just a single province and does have a single crusade goal. They only get points for going to Antioch. Now, of course, they can crusade. They can go anywhere they want, just like any faction that's capable of building a crusade movement. But they only get points for Antioch. They do get some homelands, and those do change through the eras, so it's kind of interesting and a very challenging small campaign. 4-for-1 conquest, so not the best return on that. Hungary, this is another. These last three are factions that were added in the Viking invasion expansion as playable factions to the big map of Europe. Hungary is a really interesting one for a few different reasons, but let's see. They don't have very interesting glorious achievements. Just your basic homelands and your conquest, although it's a pretty favorable 1-for-1. And Sicily, they do get crusades. They do get some very, very nice homelands for only 2 provinces. That's a lot of points for that. And 5-for-1 conquest. Sicily, though, as the ages progress, as the years go on, they get fewer and fewer points of homelands until eventually I don't think they even get points for any in the late game because they're not technically playable at that point. If you were to start up a campaign in the late era, Sicily would not be a selectable option. Now, of course, if you're playing as Sicily or if you're starting earlier than the late period, they can easily survive into the late era, but they just don't get homelands points for it. So they're basically focusing on conquest. There is also a bug with Sicily, unfortunately, where they use the Irish names for some reason, rather than proper sort of Norman-style names, I guess. But at any rate, this gives you an overview of what we're up against. Now, the wonderful thing about Glorious Achievements is it gives you this other way to win. And of course, the more recent Total War games have really capitalized on that idea, giving you military or economic victories just based on building or trading or making money or whatever. So that's all very nice. One of the flaws with this as it was originally implemented is you can see there's this great disparity between interesting glorious achievement goals and not interesting glorious achievement goals. So it wasn't implemented in the perfect way in this game, but it was still kind of a fun one. So let's take a look around our realm here. One of the challenges, of course, is the Holy Roman Empire is you are a big faction right in the middle of the map. You don't have a ton of money necessarily. You've got 4,000 florins to start, like probably everybody. And you don't have a lot of buildup. As you can see, we only have forts in 2 settlements. That is really rough. We do have some buildings in some other places. Actually, no. We've got literally nothing. Oh, man. They were really leaving it up to you to put the sand in the sandbox. Not even a sandbox at this point. It's a box. Sand sold separately. But at any rate, early period, this is typically what you get. A few forts, not much else. So we're going to want to make sure that we can afford not only to do the building we need, but also to do the training. Our projected profits are 955. So I guess the first thing to do is to check around for loyalty. Check for loyalty, determine who can go where, who can lead what province, then determine what we need to build, determine tax rates based on that, see what we're going to spend in terms of training and so on, and then click the end turn. So this first turn is going to be the longest one for sure. Okay, we've got low loyalty guys. That's a feature of the HRE. This guy could probably stand to be the governor of Provence. He is at least a spearman. We'll give him the dukedom. We'll put him there. 3 shields in terms of loyalty is better than some. Let's go ahead and go with that for now. All right, he's just got 1. We'll take him out. I don't think there's much point in giving him leadership. And these guys both have 1, so that's also pretty terrible. What about you? Just 1. Okay, Saxony. All right, we've got some good, decent, superbly loyal Vikings up in Saxony. Fantastic. Everybody here is pretty capable. I'm going to send this guy, well, let's take a look. There's probably some more pressing matters over to the east. Let's send you over here to Brandenburg. You can be the Margrave of Brandenburg. That'll guarantee basically that he's going to take over this stack once we drop him on there. Here, I do want to keep someone in Saxony, actually, because we've got the Danes right to the north, and they don't have a lot to do once they've taken the other Scandinavian provinces. So we'll just keep you, Lord von Dassel, as the Elector of Saxony. 4 shields, not too bad. Otherwise, we're going to have to start moving guys around. Lothair von Lothringen. Sure. Keep you in Franconia. Gottfield von Franken in Bohemia. And here we've got actually a very nice governor in Austria. One question also is, where are we going to put our king? Emperor Conrad II. He's only 30, which is nice. He's got decent stats. He is a drinker. That is bad. That's only going to get worse. -1 command. He's married already, which is nice. Of course, he's of royal blood, as the crown indicates. That will become important later as some of his brothers and sons come of age. That could mean that they may become leaders in a civil war. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But let's take a look at the heirs. We've got a princess up north in Brandenburg, and Prince Conrad is going to be our first heir. He's 13, so I think they come of age at 15, possibly 16. So 2 or 3 turns, and we'll get a son who can theoretically take over. And then we've got another one coming a few years after that, and then another princess who's only 7. So given that we're probably not likely to become attacked for a little while, but I still like to have my king in a place that he doesn't have to retreat from, just in case things get bad. We'll put him kind of in the middle of the realm. That's another thing you want to do in this game, because I think that may have an impact on if not loyalty, then on public order, where the king is located. If you have the king off, somewhere distant, all of your lords may be rather unloyal. Okay, let's take a look at some of these other loyalty traits. Very loyal peasant here. And since he's right here, I might move him down towards Burgundy. Yeah, no one in Switzerland is loyal. That probably shouldn't surprise me given the history. Let's go ahead. Bavaria is not likely to rebel with the king sitting right there. Bring a peasant down. He can be the Duke of Tyrolia. Sort of ward off the Italians. Yeah, we're looking pretty happy in Bavaria still. Okay, and it's just nothing good here in Switzerland. One thing you can do, I think this delays civil war, is separating guys out into separate stacks. If you have a disloyal general who is the leader of a large actual stack, then that may induce him to rebel. So the placement of factions or of units within a province actually does have quite an impact in this game. Okay, I don't think there's too much else we can do. We'll keep this guy as the leader in Swabia, and we'll bring you down to Burgundy. I guess we're happy with Provence. So yeah, he'll be Duke of Burgundy. That's pretty decent. I will go ahead and if you press a shift key, you can see at a glance public order. Green is above 100, yellow is between 70 and 100, red is below that. We want to basically get everything right up as close to that limit as we can without going over. I don't even want it to be at 99. I don't even necessarily want it to be right at 100 because that itself can potentially be cause for rebellion. Okay, and I think, yeah, that'll be pretty much everything we'll be able to do. With all those changes made, we're looking at 1387, so that's quite a change. Even with a lot of our generals, our governors, not having great stats in terms of acumen. We'll move the princess somewhere. We could use her for... Well, we could use her for some diplomacy, for some cheap alliance, because a lot of our neighbors don't have sons who are of age yet. Let's go ahead and send her over here to see if we can get an alliance with Poland. I don't think that's likely to happen necessarily, but we'll give it a shot. And anything else we want to do? I guess with all of that cash, we can take a look. We do have 3 forts, so we could do a bit of training in 3 of our provinces. Swabia is kind of our capital in a way, which I think makes sense historically. So we can train emissaries here. This is also the first place we're liable to get royal knights as a result of that. But another awesome thing about Medieval Total War is that the provinces gave valor bonuses, which are basically experience bonuses, to certain units, depending on where they are. So here, Provence was historically famous for its peasants. So you get a +1 valor bonus to peasants trained in Provence. Now, I don't know that we'll necessarily be training peasants here just so we can get a +1 valor bonus, but it's nice that they thought of it. Not all places have that advantage, but typically they will have other advantages. Like, for example, Burgundy doesn't have any unit bonus, but it does have wine, so that'll be helpful if you build some trading buildings. Swabia, though, gets sort of a hidden bonus. I think this was added in Viking Invasion. This is, I believe, the only place you can train Swabian swordsmen. In fact, we got to raise the taxes here. So if we are to get to, like, the Sword Guild or something like that, we can eventually train them. Now, there's no real building browser in this game, unfortunately. That was a poster. You had to get the physical copy of the game, which was the only way to get the game, incidentally, back in those days. And you'd have this little printout poster, which would tell you the basic buildings you could train for most of the factions. To tell you, here's how Catholic faction buildings work, here's how Orthodox faction buildings works, and here are generally the types of units you can train. So you had to sort of internalize it. You had to learn this stuff out of the game itself. But this tells you broadly what you can do. So if I click on the Spearmaker, it'll tell me it's eventually going to allow me to build an armorer and a swordsmith. This is going to get me spearmen. Whereas if I go for the Boyar, that's going to give me archers and will allow me to train that armorer, which we also need the Spearmaker for as well, or a siege engineer. We can also do other stuff, like a salt mine is going to give us some small but constant income in the form of salt trade. I think I want to go for the Spearmaker, though, because I feel like we do need some of those units. So this one has some trading resources as well as salt, which allows mines. Other places, though, give some particular resources like iron. That's the one I'm looking for. I think we get that in a few other places as well. Yeah, Bohemia and Franconia apparently are the big 2. Iron is useful for not only... I don't think it's really a trade resource, but it's used primarily to allow you to build weapon upgrades. So if we get this or Bohemia developed nicely, we can crank out some very effective units here. Other units we want to get going for is Gothic Knights. So Saxony, we're going to definitely want this to be upgraded. This is obviously a late game unit, so we're not going to be able to train this for a while. And Friesland, you always want to prioritize coastal trade, so that's something that we're going to be looking for. It has a trade resource, as does Saxony, actually. So these 2 are going to be really important once we get ports there. First things first, though. Yeah, we've got the Spearman, and we're slated to make 1424, so that cost us 200, so now we're looking at 1200. Let's go ahead and get a fort here. That'll allow us to build peasants if we want those valorous peasants out of Provence, but more importantly, allows us a place to retreat to if we're attacked suddenly. And I think I also want to go for a fort over here. That gets us up to 1,000, I think, total. And so I can spend another 400. Now, Austria, let's go with Saxony instead. I feel like I want something up north. So we'll go with a fort there. I'll click end turn. All the turns will not be this long. Okay, yes, definitely we have disloyal generals. And we get some banditry in Bavaria. Interesting. So we're going to get a battle this episode, which is always nice. So this is because no castle is present or the castle had a garrison of less than 100 men. So I forgot that little aspect. Yeah, 100 is also a magic number in terms of garrison. So we only had like 20 guys here with our king. That's fine, though. We can actually use that to sort of train up our king's valor. Okay, so our princess failed to get the alliance from the Poles. Not a problem. What do we have here? She's, okay, they're looking, the Polish princess is looking for an alliance with the Danes. I see how it's going. So this is going to be a major problem. Playing the Holy Roman Empire is dealing with all these little factions on the borders teaming up with each other and looking for weakness on our part. So we're going to have to maintain decent-sized garrisons to dissuade like the French from attacking or the Italians from attacking, but also not so huge that it strains our coffers too much or distracts us from other things. So it's a real balancing act in the early stages. Not sure how it's going to turn out, to be perfectly honest. I have had some luck playing as the Germans in the past. So we've got peasants, urban militia, and archers. This is almost a stack I feel like I could take out with just my king, but I think we want to be a little more careful. Let's go ahead and move the urban militia over. Every place is looking yellow now, so we need to make some adjustments. Well, we can't get any lower than low, so we're going to just have to deal with a little bit of unhappiness in some places. Okay, I think that's pretty good. With that done, we're looking at still 1156. So actually, we're doing okay in terms of money. The other thing we can do to help out, and this is actually a very good idea indeed, is watchtowers. They're almost too good, in my opinion. Watchtowers, in particular border forts, which is the next level. But watchtowers give you a sort of a happiness boost. I think it's 10. So we're looking at 107. That may go up to 117 next turn. We'll have to see. But they also allow you to see into neighboring provinces, which we kind of can currently, but watchtowers will allow us to see what actual buildings are present, which we can't currently, and what actual units are in the armies, which we also can't see right now. Okay, so is urban militia and my king enough to take out urban militia archers and peasants? I'm a little concerned about those archers, but I don't think there's much we can do about it. We don't have any other archer units nearby. I could recall some of my other units, but I think we're going to go with that. And I forgot to train stuff. Let's go ahead and go with an emissary in Swabia. Let's go with a unit of spearmen over in Burgundy, and let's go with an archer in Switzerland since we don't have one. In terms of other stuff, let's go with a watchtower in Franconia, and in Friesland, let's go with a watchtower. Keep an eye on Flanders, I guess. I always love the AI's turn. It's just very tense. Okay, so we've got 81 men, they've got 220. That's obviously not great odds. Theoretically, this could be the end of the campaign right here. But we do get a little preview of the battle map. I don't think it's really anything spectacular. It's going to be just rolling hills, essentially. We will want to particularly watch the archers. And we've only got urban militia, but they're attacking us, so that means we can take a position on the hill. And if we engage their archers while they're marching towards us with our cavalry, then that will probably work out pretty well. They're just bandits. Maybe famous last words. Okay, Bavaria. Let's go ahead and get that kind of out of our way. Now, because we are the defender, we can decide where we're going to deploy. The attacker does not get that advantage. We can go for an ambush, theoretically, but they're going to be starting right about down here. So I'm just going to go for the high ground. I mean, I know that's pretty basic, but we may as well just do that. Yeah, they're going to be right over here. So we'll kind of rush them over. I'm trying to remember my commands here. Everything is done by right-clicking. You can use keyboard shortcuts, though. So, like, Control-R for run. Let's see, we got the peasants down there. I think I'm going to go ahead and charge into them with my urban militia. We're going to maybe catch those archers. Well, we're going to gang up on the peasants anyway. Okay, good, good, good. Caught up to them. They're turning and fighting. If we can't rout these guys fast, that's a problem. But they're actually moving away. Haven't lost anyone yet. 2 valor on our royal knights. Those peasants are going to be gone pretty quick. Alright, who's routing? Alright, that's the peasants. Fantastic. Let's just keep on them with the urban militia. I'm not going to go after these guys just yet. I'd love to see the archers rout. So far, no losses on our royal knights. There they go. Beautiful. Alright. Now, Cav is not as easily controlled in medieval Total War as it was in later games. And we are going to run into some trouble here because our unit is split over a couple of different areas. Alright, we're going to have to bring the urban militia down. The archers are still running away, but they could reform. You can see the peasants have reformed. They're going to be much easier to rout. Later, we lost a couple of men, but actually we killed a lot of them. I just want to keep on the archers. I really don't want them to return. Fantastic. All right, they're routing. Peasants are routing. Archers are routing. Everybody's running. Okay, fantastic. Enemies fleeing the field. We can just speed up the action here. Now we've got a bunch of captured soldiers. And speed up the action. They were not screwing around when they added the Control-T option on that. It goes super fast, which is very, very nice. Okay, so we've got Valor gained for our Emperor and for our Urban Militia unit. We only lost a few men there. Very good stuff. That went well. Could have gone very, very poorly. And now we have the option of either executing them all, executing the ringleaders, or releasing them all. We are going to make a little cash over their confiscated lands, which is nice. Let's go ahead and work up Dread. Execute them all. Alright, and Lord de Bartige is approachable, which is nice. +1 acumen, +10 happiness. So that is for the province. That's going to get a bit more cash out of there. Acumen is like the management skill. And happiness is, of course, also going to translate into money because we can bring the taxes up to high even here. So that's great stuff. Approachable manor. Okay. Low taxes. Now we can go up to high. And let's take a look at our Emperor Conrad II. So, yeah, you've got, in terms of stats for this game, influence is important to work up primarily in terms of the loyalty of your generals. It doesn't really say that, but every crown or two translates into a shield of loyalty for your generals. So more influence, the better. How do you get influence? I think it's by like winning battles and conquering territory, essentially. So we're not going to have super influential emperors if we're not doing any fighting. So it'll be good. Crusades are good for influence. So if you get a nice crusade over to the Holy Land, that's going to give you 1 or maybe even 2 crowns of influence. And getting alliance, I think, may also play a role in your influence, but I'm not totally sure. I think it's largely conquest. Piety has to do with happiness, broadly speaking. It also is something of a defense against the Inquisition. So if you're playing as a Catholic faction, you have the option of other Catholic factions training Inquisitors. And these Inquisitors are agents on the strat map, and they can burn your generals at the stake. Now you can use this tactic against your enemy, just as they use it against you. But piety is one of the features that can make an Inquisition fail. So you generally want piety to be decent. It's not a huge factor, though. It also will encourage people who are also pious in a province. So it's going to translate into happiness. So if Bavaria, for example, is 100% Catholic, the zeal is 44%. That's also related to Inquisition. If the zeal is high, an Inquisitor has a better chance of the Inquisition working, and also of an Inquisition running wild and causing potential unrest. But having a high piety is going to basically be good in this type of situation. Other stat, command, of course, as you would imagine. Higher command stars are going to translate into fighting effectiveness on the battlefield. And then acumen is management. Now, the faction leader having acumen, I think, translates into a minor benefit across the entire kingdom, but this is mostly a stat that's going to be useful for your governors. So if you give them a title, like I have for most of my provinces, the acumen is earning them a little bit more cash. It's not a huge amount, but it does add up. And then you get your traits, vices and virtues, and so on. So we're going to see those fluctuate over the course of the campaign. We're getting some agents in our realm, a princess offering an alliance to Aragon, princess of Byzantium, and a emissary of Aragon offering an alliance to the Danes. All these little factions trying to get with each other. Okay, let's get our princess down to Italy, because I'm curious about that. Currently, he has no unmarried men of royal blood, so that's going to default to an alliance option. We're going to see if that has any chance. And we do have 2 courtiers, so we can attempt marriages. Let's try with England. They may be open to it because we're not bordering them. And let's try one with the Danes. I'm not holding my breath for these, but by the time they get there, we're probably going to have our heir of age, and then that may translate into a marriage, which is going to make things nicer for us. One of the ways you can lose in medieval Total War, and it's easy to lose this way if you're not paying attention, is by your dynasty dying out. That can totally happen. So if you don't have any male heirs who can take over the throne, you're done. Now, actually, I don't think the Holy Roman Emperor works in the same way. I think they just promote a general if the last heir lives. So it's not quite so crucial in our case. All right. So that was the battle we fought. All right, 3 is, is okay. We'll put him right there. All right, we're now seeing some of these guys being trained up with a couple of points of loyalty, which is quite an improvement. Let's take this urban militia. I think we'll have the archer rule in Switzerland. We'll give you the title. Put you in charge of... Actually, let's put you in charge of the urban militia. We'll send the archer down here. And we'll send the spear unit. Let's put him over towards Austria, I guess. And absolutely, you can rule Austria. I forgot to give him the title. Okay, Swabia, we now have the Spearmaker's Workshop. So I guess we may as well go for the archer. Or we could go straight for the keep. Let's do that. Let's get going on that. Let's not wait around. Now, you may be wondering, okay, what about the Crusades? What about those glorious achievements? How do you do a crusade in this game? Well, in order to do that, you first need to build a chapter house. That is going to basically be a place for the crusading orders to gather, I guess. And that's going to allow you to start a crusade. In order to build that, you have to build like a church. In order to build that, you have to build a keep. So we do need to get going on keeps in some of our places. Probably Swabia is going to be the place where we're going to first send our crusades. But let's keep going with things like forts, because those are also going to improve happiness and just allow other training options. I may as well go for one in Franconia that's also got iron. And let's go with Austria too. Not really helping our income all that much, but we will be getting on that soon. Okay, this is both good and bad news. We have the largest military might. That potentially makes us a target. But here we go. Conrad has come of age. And the true cross found. So this is just an event that pops up. Throughout the game, you're going to have these events which have various impacts. This one is going to increase zeal over the Catholic provinces, which are basically all of them, across the whole of France. So I don't think that only counts French-owned provinces, but basically anywhere that would count as France. Okay, we've got another child. Fantastic. And Prince Conrad. Ooh, he looks pretty good. He's got pride, which is not bad in a ruler. -2 acumen, but he's not going to be a governor. And killer instinct. So this is quite good in terms of the battlefield. Pride does have a -2 to command, but, I'll take it. It means he's going to be a good warrior. Okay, this is not so good. Lord von Lothringen is strange. That's going to get worse and worse over time. For now, it's only -1 morale, which is battlefield morale. That's obviously bad. -10 happiness is also bad. But still, because we've been building, because our king is nearby, because we've won some victories, public order is looking pretty decent. And so we can maybe afford to top up a few places around the map. Yeah, Friesland is actually looking quite good. Let's keep it just at high for the moment. Burgundy can go up to very high. Provence can go up to normal. And, yeah, we'll go Austria. Austria can go up to very high. Okay. That puts us at 1362 for profit. We do need to keep training, though. Let's go ahead with another spearman. And let's move this guy. Let's move him over towards Tyrolia. We also want to keep an eye on what the other factions are doing. Fortunately, it's not a lot right now. You can take a look at diplomacy, and we're seeing some alliances form. The Almohads with the Spanish and the Aragonese, which is interesting to see. And the Danes with basically all of my neighbors, which is bad. The Hungarians with all of my neighbors. The Italians with all of my neighbors. The Sicilians and the Papacy are allied as well. And the Egyptians and the Turks. Okay. So the Papacy would be a good ally to have. Let's see. We've got everybody on a mission. The red here indicates that they're on a mission. So we'll just let them carry those out for now. Let's go ahead and train another spearman. Now these units have typically low upkeep for this game. So 50 per turn. Not too bad. Let's see, Switzerland. So this is an interesting one. This allows you extra valor Swiss pikemen. This is, again, a late era unit. But it might be a good place for a watchtower just for public order, because this is a place that can have a rebellion occur. So we'll get going on one of those. And in Bavaria, since this feels kind of safe, I think we'll go with a salt mine here. We need to get some of our income going up. Brandenburg, though, we'll go with a fort. Okay, we got some forts, watchtowers. Wonderful. So everything is getting upgraded essentially. Yeah, Bohemia can go up to normal taxes. Saxony, almost very high, but let's go with the watchtower. We can keep an eye on the Danes there, because the problem with the Danes is they tend to make lots of heirs, and so they've got a lot of royal knights just sitting up there. The other problem with the Danes is well, again, they've got no place else to go. Actually, though, we get an advantage, because if they attack us, I'm looking at this part of the province here. So watch that part of the screen when I mouse over here. So I select Denmark, and it tells me what we can expect if we fight in Denmark. But if Denmark is crossing into Saxony, they're going to find a river. So what that means is we're going to have a bridge battle. So you kind of want to, if you're expecting attack from the Danes at some point, you want to have an army here that could defend a bridge. So, you know, we've got a couple of decent melee units. Vikings are actually quite good. But you want maybe like an archer unit or two. Something along those lines would be helpful. So let's get another one of those guys. And Switzerland, yeah, let's hold off on Switzerland actually. Tyrolia, I'll go with a watchtower. And Burgundy, never quite sure what to do, but we'll go with more spears. This guy, see, this is looking good. Now we're getting some guys who can be governors. You can be Duke of Lorraine. This is actually a province that could be a decent moneymaker. So let's go with a fort here, and yeah, just keep training these guys. I think I'll take you. Well, I'll leave you in Swabia, actually. I like to have the guys out of the forts so that I know, you know, whoever I trained is inside the fort and I don't lose track, you know. Okay, and Prince Conrad right here. We don't necessarily need him to be right with the king all the time. He's actually got decent loyalty, which is nice. He's the heir apparent, so you would hope that he would, right? But let's see. Do I want to move him? Let's move him up towards Franconia, I guess. Byzantine's the richest. Okay, no alliance from the princess in Venice. Okay, now this is a good trait. The emperor is likely to get this at some point. Your king, your faction leader, whoever, is probably going to get builder in the early game because you're doing a lot of small construction projects, and those are going to add up. So the more stuff you build, the more likely you are to get this trait. So plus 10 happiness, which means we can probably increase the taxes in most places. Yeah, so very high. We'll go up to high there. Okay, and actually, yeah, this can be very high. And we'll go very high there, too. Yep, yet another spearman unit in Swabia. Alright, archers here, not looking very good. But let's bring him down to Burgundy, where, again, some very nice, fairly loyal spearmen. What I think I may do, even though this seems kind of pointless, you can use princesses to also marry into your generals. I'm going to hold off on that for just a turn or two. Maybe we can get an alliance out of her yet. Now, the game doesn't tell you when your other princesses come of age, so you have to keep an eye on that. Okay, so we've got 2 Princess Juttas. That's a problem. But she's 12, so a few more years. At any rate, we can marry them off to a general who we want to be loyal. We do need to do something about this guy, Otto. Let's see. Well, I think we just need to wait until we get someone who's... Oh, okay, here we go. You will be the Duke of Friesland. Now, one other thing we can do up here is... So it goes fort, keep, castle, citadel, fortress in terms of the big fortifications that appear on the map. Each level of those buildings unlocks a new level of other buildings that you can build. So in order for you to build a church, you have to be at the level of the keep, right? Now, in between those levels, you can also build these other smaller structures that improve the walls, that add time to sieges and so on if you're besieged. You really only want to do that if you have nothing else to do, you just got nothing else to spend your money on, you're trying to get the builder trait to trigger, or you are expecting to be attacked. I'm not really, and I kind of want to save my cash at this point for other stuff. I'm going to go right for a keep here in Saxony. I'm not going to bother with building the fort and Mott. So we'll just go right to that. Now down here, though, I kind of feel like we should probably do something else. Let's go. I know this is a peasant province in terms of their valor bonus, but let's go with a town watch. This is going to be a prerequisite for other things, like any of the other military units, basically, swordsmen, spearmen. And it's going to also improve public order. In terms of other things, you know, we could go with an inn in a place like Bohemia. Not totally sure. Let's do that. I don't know that this place is going to be attacked, but inns are rather interesting. So they allow you to basically recruit mercenaries. So we'll see if we get any in a couple of turns. Oh, so we get our Prince Conrad has a wife now. Fantastic. All right, let's take a look. He should be a married man. Oh, beautiful. So now we've got the same turn that we got the marriage announcement. We also get an announcement about our ruler's wife giving birth to another son. That would be Prince Hermann here. Now, we're not sure just yet if the game actually meant our king, our Emperor Otto, or our Prince Conrad, because he is now married. I think it probably does mean the faction leader. But sometimes, because the game doesn't explicitly say this, it's a little hard to tell. All right, but our princess has arrived down in the Papal States. And the Papal faction in this game starts off with two provinces, the Papal States and Rome itself. So it's always good to see. Oh, that's right, we can't offer an alliance because he's the Pope, right? So we can't do that. We can use our emissary, though. So we'll give that a shot, and we'll just use her. Maybe we can see if the Sicilians are doing anything interesting. And then maybe we'll send her around to one of our less loyal governors. Now, we don't have any other heirs currently that we can, do anything with. So there's no sense in asking for marriage from anybody else. But we could do some bribery. You can see that this guy, this Polish emissary, has just successfully done some bribery himself. He's got some valor to show for it as well. So he's bribed this rebel group here in Pomerania. These are going to become part of the Polish faction. And so it's some spearmen and some archers. And yeah, he's got weak principles because he was just bribed. So this is, basically the Poles have walled us off from the east. We'll see how long that lasts. But we can get our emissary around here and see if we can maybe bribe any of these other rebel states. I don't know if it's super worth it, honestly, because it's fairly expensive. In the early game, you've got other stuff to spend your cash on. So speaking of that, let's just keep training up our spearmen. I'm particularly concerned about the west. Because I just feel like the French could, at any moment, start some real trouble for us. So let's keep archers going here. Let's go for some urban militia. Let's go for a peasant unit in Provence. Why not? In Switzerland, since we just got the archery, let's go with the spearmen, I guess. We're going to need to kind of go up this tree anyway. Bavaria salt mine complex. Now let's go for copper mines in Austria. So this is a bit better return, about twice as much money as you make from a salt mine. So it's a pretty decent investment. So it looked like that Polish army was invading Pomerania. Okay, emissary did not work. We are not allied with the Pope. They probably don't like us for all sorts of reasons. But yeah, that was not an actual invasion. That was just moving up to reinforce. So the Poles have taken Pomerania in strength. And so we want to start looking around. What's it going to look like if they attack us in Brandenburg from Pomerania? Well, there's going to be another river there, so that's nice if we have the units to defend it. If they attack Saxony from Pomerania, though, it's just going to be flat land. no waterways at all, so it's going to be pretty open to them. We do want to get our recruitment capabilities going up here. So let's go with urban militia in Franconia. Now let's see what we got for recruitment in Bohemia. We do have actually just a little bit because we have the basic fort. In some provinces in Eastern Europe, you can train Slav warriors, Slav javelin men. And Slav warriors are actually kind of a decent return on investment. They're basically peasants in terms of their size and their support costs and everything else. They are a bit more upfront cost, but so what? They do have a decent charge, a strong charge actually. And they have a shield, so they're not as weak to missile attacks. They're not fantastic, but I would say that they're typically better than peasants. Strong charge. They are at least fast, so they've got that. They have a better attack than peasants, who have a very weak attack, and they do have a shield. So let's train a few of these guys. Queue them up. There's no population mechanics in this game, so pretty much any concern you would have about draining population levels, you don't have to worry about that. It's just what you can support in terms of cost. Okay. Now, how's Swabia doing? We've got 3 turns before our keep is finished there. And these archers are very, very disloyal. They keep coming out of Switzerland. Oof, we've got some very disloyal urban militia too. Let's keep them going, and let's go with archers in Burgundy. We want to have somewhat of a mixed force. No cav capability yet for us. It's just our emperor and the heir with their royal knights. We've got another heir, so there's another cav unit. Let's see how he is. Okay, so this is the beginnings of the crusade. I don't know if this has any mechanical impact. Basically, the nice thing about this is when it tells you something about a particular faction, it'll highlight the province where that faction is sort of has their capital, so you can kind of know, okay, this is either where the faction leader is, or this is where like all the buildings are going to be. So I don't know if this does anything. Like theoretically, if any faction was capable of sending a crusade at this point, I guess they could have, but it's not possible mechanically for any faction to start a crusade because you need a certain number of buildings first. Okay, we got the Great Builder trait. We just got Builder, and now we're up to Great Builder. And Ludwig is, okay, also decent. I'll take Secret Blackmailer. That's totally fine. As long as it's a secret, it doesn't hurt anything. This may be discovered over time, and then we're going to get some, I think some disloyalty. But that's not a huge concern at this point. Killer Instinct, though, is very nice. So we're getting some very bloodthirsty generals here. And he's got also a very nice loyalty level. So let's go ahead and move him over towards Lorraine, Burgundy, somewhere over here. Because if we see an opportunity in France, if any wars break out between France and England, we may want a piece of that. Let's see. We can bring an urban militia, I guess, up to Lorraine. Yeah, this peasant in France, we're getting some good loyalty now. Very nice stuff. Let's go ahead and move our princess over to marry this guy. It feels like a bit of a waste. He is just a spearman governor with only 4 acumen, but that's going to give him 2 more shields. And so that's going to improve loyalty. She's 24. I mean, she's getting up there in age, let's be honest, right? She's not getting any younger. I think the princesses in this game get trundled off to a nunnery at the ripe old age of 30 or thereabouts. So it's all rather depressing if you are older than that age, as I am, to consider what the game considers old. So Provence, we could build a port. You typically want to do that in a place where you're also going to do trading, but we don't have any trade goods here, so there's not really much point. It's also only going to invite the attention of other navies potentially. But let's go with archers. It's a pretty easy build. In Lorraine, I guess we could go with the trade post. This is going to give us a little bit of trade income, but it's just land-based. And I'm not too concerned about that. Let's see. Friesland, though. Let's go ahead and go to the trading post here. It's 800, so it's a little pricey. But there will be a nice return on that once we start getting a navy established. And speaking of pricey, let's go ahead with the copper mine complex. That's going to double our income, by the way. It was 52, now it's 104. So that's per turn. It's going to pay for itself in a little while. Okay, we got an attack. And I should have moved my prince over there. It's actually the king himself, King Philippe I, who is attacking Lorraine. So I could do a couple of things here. We could try to fight this. Got a couple of spearmen units. Might actually do some damage. We also have some urban militia. Let's do it. We don't have anyone who I care all that much about. But we could do some damage to their heavy cav. And then once the AI attacks, it sort of helps give you a plan. Or it helps me get a plan at any rate. I like to be the one reacting. I know that's like terrible. You know, like in terms of strategic stuff, you're supposed to be the one attacking, right? You're not supposed to be reacting. But I don't know. I think it's more fun to see what the AI is going to do and then see what I can do about it. It makes it a little more challenging, I guess. Because again, you can blitz this game and the AI will just not know what to do. Okay, so they're going to actually go way around. I didn't know that they had that much capability, but okay. Let's bring the spearmen over there. We've got urban militia. Urban militia, actually, we're also going to want on this side. Cutting down horsemen, because these guys have armor piercing. They're effective against armor. They're also good against cav. They're not good at, like, stopping and holding a line like the spearmen are. But if we cut down some of these princes, that might be really useful. The peasants I'm just keeping back for morale. Although if we get a nice opportunity to charge, we might take it. We might want to consider going on the offensive. If they're going to sort of move around like this, I don't know that we want to let them get into perfect position. Let's go ahead and go after these guys. Keep our men together. They've at least got one archer unit kind of far away. I know that this does leave us vulnerable. We're sort of using up our fatigue, which is a bigger deal in this game than it was in the later ones. These bars represent the fatigue level. Right now we are fresh, but as the bars go away, that'll be us losing that fatigue. Alright, so we want to move right. We want to move kind of away from them. I don't want to get shot up by their archers. They are going to get a few shots in. Alright, let's go ahead and do a charge. This is going to be a bit of a mess. I'm going to have the peasants see if we can just get them completely around to the flank. Or the rear, rather. We've done a bit of damage to them. Let's go ahead and get our general on this side, peasants over here. Now, we're going to lose this battle, I'm quite sure, because obviously we're going to be outflanked. But, like, we may as well do some damage before retreating to the castle. And these units are all cheap, no experience. Down to 12 and 13, not too bad. These, by the way, will not auto-replenish, so all of these kills are going to stay. So that's why it's kind of worth it. And there we go. Let's go ahead and end it right there. But yeah, fighting battles actually does have a kind of more of an impact. If you were to fight that same battle in Rome Total War, right, or like a later type game where the bodyguard units automatically replenish over time, there's just less point to it, right? But in this game, you know those units are not, those men are not coming back. unless they literally go home and retrain. Okay, so we've lost Lorraine, and they demand a ransom. Now, this can have an impact because I think if we decline ransom too much, our other generals are going to be less loyal. Obviously, this also costs us money. That is 133 men. It's only 300. I'm going to go for it. And the Pope gives us some money, which is possibly the last time that's going to happen. I think this is because we are not the aggressor. We have not started any wars. We are just doing our good Christian duty, right? Building up our own territories, looking to our own kingdoms. And so we get 1,000 florins for it, so very nice. All right, Peasant Crusade. So France has started a war with us, and now they are suffering some income penalties because there is a Peasant Crusade that has gone off and stopped work in the fields. Okay. So we've got these guys who were in the last battle, -3 morale because he ran away, and then this guy captured and ransomed. That's going to make him harder to command his men, but actually is kind of a nice trait because it gives them extra morale, or his unit anyway. Okay, we've got our Princess Jutta II. Oh, and the French are attacked by the Aragonese as well. Oh, awesome. Maybe. Okay, that's a marriage offer. I'm not sure if I want to do that. You know what? Let's try it with the other princess. Where is she? Princess Jutta the Old. Let's go ahead and see if we can get a marriage, a sort of alliance with the King of Aragon, since we now share a border with them, right? The French are in a really tough position because, as you can see, Toulouse, which they start with, cannot be reinforced by Ile-de-France, and they don't start off with any provinces that can reinforce it. So if they lose this, that's kind of it. There may be a loyalist rebellion, though, 98% chance of loyalty. So we may still have French neighbors in the south of France. But we could do some interesting things right now. We could counterattack Lorraine and try to take it back, or we could go straight for Paris. And that's kind of what I'm inclined to do here. I think I'll take everybody. Lord von Holland, Duke of Burgundy, with peasants, urban militia, and archers. We're just going to send him into Ile-de-France. Now, they could shift these guys around next turn. But if they do, that would potentially open them up in other places. Where is the prince that we were moving over? Where did he end up? Okay, this is Prince Conrad. That's the heir. Oh, here he is. Okay, Prince Ludwig. So the other option is we could counterattack the King of France and either force him to withdraw. That might be the better move. Let's rather than attacking Flanders, let's take these guys as well as everybody in Franconia. Well, okay, these are the ransomed men, 132. So Franconia is not going to be too upset. This force has, let's see, 4 full units of spears, 1 archer, and 2 royal knights. And then we've also got these guys who could sally out of the castle. That's everybody we can send. Now, they may send these guys from Flanders. And one thing you can also try is something like this, just a pinning attack to either keep them in place or just distract them. You know, I think I may do that just to see what happens. And yeah, I think everything else will stay the same. Although Burgundy is very unhappy with us, we'll bring it down to low taxes. We can also move a guy from Tyrolia, I guess. Let's do that, just a spearman unit. Let's go ahead and train another archer in Switzerland, a spearman in Swabia, urban militia in Franconia. We do have mercenaries now in Bohemia, which is some interesting stuff. Byzantine cav, mounted crossbowmen, and Italian infantry. I'm going to go with these. I like these guys. I like the idea of them as mercenaries. Mounted crossbowmen. Yeah, let's go for that too. Let's save the Byzantine cav because they're kind of high in the upkeep. So we got a couple of mercenary units that we can now send west. Let's send them right over to Franconia. Now, they're actually not that disloyal. But let's see what else. Okay, everything's looking good otherwise. In terms of income, yeah, we need a fort in Tyrolia. That's long overdue. And Franconia, let's hold off on the fort there. We're doing forts in a few other places currently. Yeah, now that we're at war with France, we need to give some thought. Some serious thought to building and training and all the rest of it. So Burgundy, if I thought it wasn't going to be attacked, well, let's go with a watchtower just because we don't know exactly what we're going into. Okay, looks like the French are attempting to assault in Lorraine. Okay, so we invade Flanders. They've still got a bunch of guys here, but I don't think. Geez, actually, we could almost do this. It's a lot of peasants. This guy's very good. I think we're going to call off the attack. If we had a few more units, I would risk this. They do have a lot of archers. That could be really annoying, and we're going to be very outnumbered. So we'll call that off. All right, we are attacking in Lorraine. So here we've got our 2 royal knights against theirs. It's their king and one of his princes. I'm not sure if this is the only heir at this point. But we outnumber them in terms of cav. We've got some fantastic valor, 6 valor on Prince Ludwig here, so awesome stuff. So we're going to be very good in the hand-to-hand aspect. They do out-archer us, but we get a lot of spearmen. We can just push them forward. So let's do it. Take back Lorraine, and then we'll be in a really good position to decide what to do with the rest of France, assuming that we take it. Now, I possibly should have waited there because if I waited for rain, the AI would have a harder time. So we're going to Control A and then G to get everybody grouped up. And if you hold down Alt and then click where they all go, they're going to maintain the same facing. So I'm going to try to maneuver them here. Oh, they're not going to have it. Okay. So we're going to get our spearmen instead, and we're just going to rush them forward. I'm going to ignore their archery, honestly. I don't know exactly where their cav is going to be. But we're going to push them. As you can see, they're going to start moving away once our spearmen get in close. Their cav, okay, is just behind the hill there. Really, all they've got is peasants in terms of melee stuff, so I'm not too worried about what's going to come over the hill. It's going to be the Royal Knights. And I'm thinking we're going to be pretty good against them. We can find a nice opening. They do have some more archers that may be hidden in the trees. Maybe this is all of them, I'm not sure. 14 Royal Knights attacking our spearmen. I don't think they're going to make too much headway there. Okay, peasants losing badly. Nine Royal Knights losing slightly. Okay. We're going to sandwich their king. Looks like our archers get in a blast there. Blast. Let's see. Okay, let's stop firing right into our ranks here. Peasants running away. Did we kill all of their horsemen?
The enemy king flees.
Nice.
No thought of his royal dignity.
Oh, beautiful. All right, I'll just keep running them down. I think everybody's routing at this point. Oh, there is a unit of archers who has not given up the ghost yet. and they're going to be a nuisance. That other unit of archers there. If we catch up to him, we will have a king to ransom. So I'm really hoping we do. I'm not sure if it's going to work out, but he's got a long way to flee. We might catch him. That's good for 10,000, I believe. He's in the trees. Let's see if that'll help him out. He's still ahead of us. Might make it. And our spearmen are quite intact. We've only lost a handful. This 21 unit was already very, very low. That's part of the force that was besieged in the fort. They're going to be pushed over the border there pretty soon. We're still technically attacking him. I don't know. Let's just speed up the battle here. Yeah, he got away. Shoot. So we could, at this point, we could just kill the captured soldiers. There's not a whole lot of point because I don't think... let's see. We may theoretically have captured their prince. If so, we're going to get a ransom out of that. I don't know that that happened. We may have just killed him outright. But we conquered Lorraine. We took that back. Okay. And we're invading Ile-de-France. And this is a winter battle. When you get multiple battles in the same turn, it may be a winter type scenario. And it's a lot of archers. 4 archers versus, well, we outnumber them. Yeah, let's just do a little quick save here. Not too sure how this is going to work out. If we take Ile-de-France, I don't think we're going to, conquer it outright, because they're going to withdraw to the castle. Let's wait. We're going to wait for bad weather, blizzards. Okay. Okay, it's going to be, yeah, it's over this river crossing, and they're going to have a ton of archers. Okay, so that's obviously not good. Are there any other bridges? It looks like no. Should have checked that out first. But yeah, so theoretically they could group around the outside of the bridge here and just kill us. But if this attack fails, that's fine. This is really one of those feints. You do it just to see what would happen. Oh, they're gonna... Okay. Why don't you halt then? And are they gonna attack us? Maybe they didn't get the memo. Gonna get a few free kills here. Let's start sending the urban militia down. Send them across. If we get into a melee, I think we'll do pretty well. Now, I don't know if there's much point in sending all of our urban militia over. You get penalties if you're trying to cram in too many units into the same space. We're going to get some friendly fire here, but that's all right. We're doing pretty well in terms of friendly fire so far. 22, 21... 40s there. Alright, and our archers stopped firing of their own volition. Let's send our general next. Well, that's a bit risky, but I want him for morale purposes. Oh, he's a peasant unit. Never mind. We're winning. Let's go ahead and speed this up.
The enemy general
There we
reveals
go,
his true
nice.
colours as a coward and flees.
All right. So they're just going to get pushed back to the castle, which is possibly just a fort at this point, actually. No, it's a keep. All right, wonderful. So we've got it under siege at the moment. We've got a ransom of 105. Oh, come on, Pope. He wants us to cease hostilities against the French. He requests that you recall your troops within 2 years and that you do not attack again for at least 10 years after their return. So that means if I want Ile-de-France, I have to assault this turn, or I'm not going to, or I'll be excommunicated. All right, this guy's actually gotten pretty good. Just some random starting peasant. Skilled attacker, 1 command. All right, so yeah, we could attack Ile-de-France. This turn, we could assault. I think if we attack, if we invade another province of the French, I think what happens is then we get excommunicated. Recall your forces means bring them back home or conquer the province you're in. It means don't go anywhere else. So we don't get like 2 free years to do more invasions. So we could assault this. Now the problem is we assault this. Like we could go ahead and select that, but then it's not going to take effect until after these guys. What they're almost certain to do is to relieve the siege. We'll have a big battle on our hands anyway, so I don't think we would win this. I could theoretically move all these guys in, I guess, but that leaves me kind of stretched out. How's this doing? Very low, 67%. And if I've got a bunch of men defending Ile-de-France, I've still got these 2 provinces, as well as potentially Burgundy if this becomes French again. So I'm not sure that it necessarily helps me all that much. This does have a lot of buildings, but it's not like it's such a great prize right now. I think we can bring these guys back down. We'll spread around. No, we'll keep the 2 princes right together in Lorraine at the moment. And then we'll have to kind of watch out. Right now we've got Ile-de-France. Let's bring on low taxes. We don't want a rebellion there, but we do want to get out. Probably they'll move down. And then we're not going to get excommunicated. That's the thought. We won Lorraine back. We didn't lose anything there. We did lose the lordship, which means we now get to choose, someone else to give it to. Theoretically, I guess this guy's a good runner, but he's got quite decent acumen, so let's give him the lordship of the province. All right, let's do one more turn, see what the AI is going to do. Swabia, though, has finished its fort, which means that now we can get going on other stuff. Swordsmith here allows feudal men-at-arms. This is our first sword-based unit. But as you can see, we've got a lot more options here because we got to our 2nd tier of development. If we get the church built, then we can build our chapter house, and then we can start going on crusade. So we'll get the swordsmith for some nice middle ground infantry units. Then we'll probably go church next. Let's see what the French are going to do. Oh, I could have assaulted. They didn't counterattack. Well, we still have the largest military. And I wonder if we could try for a ceasefire. Maybe we can get an alliance now with the Pope. See if that's going to work. And since I keep forgetting to use this emissary, let's bring him over. See if we can get a ceasefire with the French. I don't know that it's going to matter. It probably won't work. But we'll see. All right, we've got to shore up also our borders a little bit more. All right, you were captured. That's actually kind of nice. Oh, I can't move him. Why not? For some reason I can't move these guys individually. Well, what I'd like to do is drag him out of here. Maybe I need to do it this way. Yeah, there we go. I'd like to make him the governor again, probably Swabia. So we'll go with that. And see what we've got in Franconia. That's right, we got all these mercs. Let's move them up to Friesland. And yeah, they'll stick around. We can retrain the urban militia here. He's actually quite nice in terms of acumen. So we'll do that. You do that by just dropping them back in the queue. Now this takes a turn. It takes a solid turn during which you cannot train anything else. So you really want to make sure you're doing it, you know, in a way that's useful. Let's go ahead with the swordsmith, actually archer in Franconia. And in Swabia, let's just keep going with spears and urban militia. Just alternating. He's got, okay, 2 loyalty. I guess that's all right. Another archer over at Burgundy. And Toulouse is fantastically in the hands of Aragon. They have not lost it to rebellion, and in fact, loyalty is going up. So we have a new neighbor in the south, and it looks like the French are a little bit concerned. They're pretty much isolated to this area. They also start with Brittany, so I'm not sure if they have that still. I think they're only at war with us. They're not at war with Aragon anymore, which may seem strange, but that's because they don't share a border. So that's another way to get ceasefires, basically. Okay. Urban militia. Got a ton of urban militia, actually. Let's get some archers. And otherwise, what do we want to spend in Burgundy? I'll go with an inn here, too, because we may need some sudden military guys. Let's go with loyalty in Provence. And in Bavaria, yeah, we really need a fort. It's been too long. We'll go over here. Actually, this will be our way to get over to Brittany to spy out events. And man, these Slavic spearmen are doing pretty decent in terms of happiness, acumen, even loyalty. So maybe you can rule Bavaria. I think it's Duke of Bavaria there. And since this is an iron province, it's got a lot of nice resources. Let's go with a fort there. All right, the Danes are attacking Sweden. French are attacking Friesland, but I've got some mercenaries up there. Okay. Yeah, we outnumber them quite a bit. We could kill the king. All right, we'll do it. Last battle here. See if we can take out the King of France with our Italian mercenaries and our mounted crossbow mercs. Okay, so we get to deploy wherever we want here, and it's pretty much a big open field. They're going to be pretty much right in front of us. Well, yeah, I guess we'll just... this is fine, actually. I'm going to go ahead and move the mounted crossbowmen. Now, horse archers in this game work quite a bit differently than you might remember in, like, Rome Total War, Medieval 2. They can't fire if they're moving. So if they're marching away, they're not doing any damage at all. We're in fact coming under fire as well, but man, these guys are falling very fast. Let's keep it up. I know we're falling under archer fire, but bring my general behind to support in terms of morale. Urban militia here might break through the center of spearmen. Keep firing on those Royal Knights. We're going to get shot in the back, but that's what our mercenaries are for, right? Right, our urban militia have fallen. Let's get the spearmen up there, down to 4 Royal Knights. If we can catch them with these 2 units, we might be doing okay. All right, they're sandwiched now. Let's bring the mounted crossbowmen over. Attack the urban militia in the back. They're doing a lot better than I thought. In fact, they're routing my spearmen. And I'm beginning to fear that we may not win this. Okay, urban militia now running away. Good. They've got a lot of archers, though. All right, take out him. If we take out the king, I mean, this is it, right? You know, he's getting chewed up between two spear units, so you'd think that would be pretty good. Archers running away already. Awesome. Keep giving them move orders so that they will push the enemy archers away. Let's see, 56, 53. Yeah, let's go up on these guys, I guess. All right, spearmen have come back. Urban militia may be able to come back at some point, but it's not today. All right, 40 archers running away. So we don't want to keep on them because they can regroup, of course. All right, we're down to one Royal Knight here. I think it's only a matter of time before he gets ground down. Bring these guys in to support just in terms of morale, because they could really... He could do a lot of damage to our spearmen. There was this phenomena that in the old days was called the Jedi Knights phenomena, where you had bodyguards who, the more men you lose, the more valor your surviving men get within that unit. So when you're talking a unit that's as strong as like a Royal Knights unit, they can get ridiculous levels of valor, which again is basically just experience. And so you could be in a campaign where you're seeing, you know, the enemy king and princes. There we go.
A vain and foolish villain to the end.
But you could get into a scenario where you've got guys with like 9 or 10 valor running around, but just a single man in their unit, because they've managed to survive. They're just brutally scarred and just these almost unkillable monsters. But fortunately, we don't have to face that. We've killed the French king. And our mounted crossbowmen, hitting them in the back, put the archers to flight. Now, we've killed him, so we're not going to get any ransom, unfortunately. But let's see what the options are. There may be some ransom options. Yes, we did get 530 cash. And that's the end of the French. Okay, he has no heirs. And the forces have degenerated into minor factions. They no longer present any real threat. Oh, awesome stuff. So the wonderful thing here is that now we are free to conquer all of this lovely territory, right? That I was, you know, kind of wanting to add at some point to my realm. Champagne, Flanders in particular. This is a really rich province, potentially. Okay, we've got a marriage offer with the King of Aragon, so I think we're allied to him now. There goes Princess Jutta the Old. Let's see, do we now have our ally? Yes, we do. Ally in Aragon, and the French war is over. So yeah, Flanders, 3 tradable goods, including silk, which is a quite nice one to have. And it's on the coast, right? So it's already got a port, which... Who knows if that'll still be standing when and if we take it over, but it's still nice to see. And these are a bunch of cheap units. Now, theoretically, we could bribe this army for 1685. Let's see. Inside, they've just got some urban militia. We could also bribe these guys. I wonder how much that would be. A lot more. So this is probably... Oh, that's that was like, I think, an urban militia unit or something, just not a nobleman. But, you know, let's go for this. That's shockingly cheap. If the bribe is accepted, we can just move our forces in from Lorraine or Friesland. And then we got Flanders. We've got, okay, yes, like a rebel garrison inside the castle, but so what? And that would be a relatively cheap acquisition. It's going to make the English upset with us. So speaking of, we should probably take a look at the English king to see if we can get an alliance out of him. But I'm very happy with that. This basically removes the threat of excommunication because the Pope has warned us away from the French are no longer around. So all these territories are up for grabs as far as that is concerned. Well, I think this makes a fantastic place for us to end a rather lengthy first episode of our Holy Roman Empire Glorious Achievements campaign in medieval Total War. I hope you'll join me for the next episode. Until then, everybody, take care.